Welcome to Trailblazers and Titans with your host, Dr. Keith Haney. Trailblazers and Titans is your go-to podcast for insights, inspiration, and actionable advice from the world's most successful entrepreneurs and leaders. Each episode features in-depth interviews with industry pioneers, innovative thinkers, and business moguls who share their journeys, challenges, and strategies for success. Whether you're an aspiring entrepreneur, a seasoned leader, or someone looking to make a significant impact, this podcast provides the tools and motivation to blaze your trail and become a titan in your field. Tune in to learn, grow, and transform your vision into reality.
My guest today is Kam Knight. He is a coach, writer, and author of several best-selling books in the area of human and mental performance, such as memory, concentration, and productivity. We welcome Kam to the podcast. Productivity. Well, my guest today is the AIpreneur. It's so good to have you on today. How are you?
Thank you very much, Keith. I am super excited. I'm doing fantastic. How about yourself?
I'm good. We just got through a major snowstorm, so we're digging out of a nasty seven inches of snow yesterday. So,
Oh, no. Well, hopefully we'll have robots digging out the snow soon.
oh, don't say that. My audience will go nuts.
Yeah.
I am curious. We have talked 3 different times, but you're shifting into something new. So I kind of want to get into your journey because I'm always curious what leads people to venture into new things. So kind of share with us your journey into the world of AI and what sparked your interest in that field.
Yeah, I'll share that. So right now I call myself the AIpreneur. And more or less, I've been a serial entrepreneur for as far back as junior high when I was going door to door selling seeds and handing out flyers. And then over the years, I was a certified public accountant or CPA, a real estate broker, and then I was a best-selling author of over a dozen books and an international speaker. However, when ChatGPT came out, I had an existential crisis because what took me decades to develop as a skill, I saw ChatGPT doing in seconds. Now, granted, my writing is still better than ChatGPT, but I could see the writing on the wall and that it was time to pivot. And over the last few years, I've been thinking about what to pivot into. And after coming to the conclusion, this is my own conclusion, so others might disagree, that AI will eventually be able to do most jobs, I decided to pivot into AI so I could just stay on top of it and keep up with it. And so now I help small businesses and solopreneurs stay relevant by using AI.
So I love that. And it's a good transition because as you think about AI and the work that you do, because you've done a lot of work with productivity and mental performance, how do you see AI helping to do what you do better with your clients? Or is that even replacing you and what you did with your clients?
Yeah, well, unfortunately, it hasn't replaced me, but I wouldn't be surprised if it does. But AI is helping productivity in 3 main ways. First, AI is doing a lot more things for us, like writing and summarizing and emails and research and so much more. And it's learning to do more and more things as each day goes on, and hence allowing us to be able to do more things and get a lot more done. So that's one of the ways AI is really helping us. Another way that doesn't get talked about, but the people who are using it are finding it like really helpful and valuable is that AI is acting as a coach and a guide and even a therapist for us. You know, in the past, if we had an idea or a block, the only way to really work through it was for us to think through it ourselves. And if we were lucky, had someone to talk through it with. And when I say lucky, because you needed to have somebody good to talk through it with, someone with good ideas and someone who was interested in your own growth and not unconsciously driven to, keep you at their level and things like that. But now we can use so many AI tools, not just ChatGPT, to work through what we're going through and the struggles we have and the challenges and all of that. And we could do it in real time. Like we don't have to wait for someone to get on a call with us or wait to get an appointment. We can just open up one of these tools, talk through our fears, talk through our challenges, talk through our ideas, and get some like really good responses. In fact, there's a couple AI I would love to recommend right off the bat. There's one called um, earkick.com. It's a free AI therapist, and it's really good. It's really good. Like you don't have to sign up or account, so they won't have your personal information. You just go to earkick.com, click on the button to chat, and you can work through things. And it's like it's trained through various psychological modalities in helping you work through things, coaching you, things like that. So in that respect, it's helping people a lot.
So it's funny you mentioned that because I was watching a show yesterday with my wife, and on it was this app that these kids had been interacting with, and I can't think of the name of the app right now. But
Yeah.
anyway, but it was giving the kids advice. They were being bullied by one of their classmates, and they said, "Well, here's how you can handle it." And it
Yeah.
led the kids to go and attack the girl because that was one of the options that it gave. If she won't stop bullying you, just kill her. And so in the show, the kids followed the app, basically the AI, and it, did that. But it also knew all the information about the cop that was interacting with the girls and suggested to the cop, your wife really loves jewelry. You haven't bought her a gift in a while. You should buy her a watch. And so the cop, even though he was leery about AI, actually bought his wife a watch. He's like, "Oh, how'd you know I was looking for a watch?" And it was like, it was a perfect gift. And
Yeah.
so, we all have this vision of AI, like you talk about, not only being productive, but kind of intruding into our lives. As you
Yeah.
think about good applications of AI, you just named one. Are there other ones that you've used or recommend to your clients? We know about ChatGPT. I know people have some experience with OpenAI, but are
Yeah.
there other ones that you say, "Hey, this is one that's really good and really something I would tell you to look into"?
Yeah. So I can answer that question two ways. I could give a short response and just give some tools, or I can kind of give a little bit more framework around it. So, what's really interesting about AI, and I know a lot of people have apprehensions thinking that it's very difficult, that it requires a lot of technical knowledge or even coding and programming skills. But we have to understand that AI is an intelligence. So, it's very different than other kinds of innovations and automations. And so what that means is that it doesn't really require a lot of technical skills or expertise or know-how. All you need are pretty much to know the right tools and then describe what you want to do. For example, ChatGPT is more or less a writing and research tool. And again, most of us can use it just by going to the ChatGPT website, telling it what we want, and then getting a result. And that's how easy AI is becoming. And ChatGPT is one tool, but there's tons and tons of other AI tools. There's AI tools that can create websites in seconds. So if you're starting a business, you can use a tool like Butternut. Just you pretty much have to give it one or two sentences of what you do and the business name, and it'll create an entire website with different sections, benefits, FAQs, and all of that. And you can host it through that platform. And that's just so in a minute, you can have a fully fledged website on a platform live. And that's the same with things like automated chatbots and conversational AI and other stuff. And so I want people to, when thinking about AI, I want people to understand that ChatGPT is just one of many tools that are out there and that it's not as hard to use or to get accustomed to. It's just a matter of knowing what the tool does and then telling it what to do. Now, when it comes to productivity, there are a bunch of tools that I really like. One of the ones that I really like, it's called a Ramble Fix. So I think where a lot of people get hung up in productivity is going from their head to outside of the head. Does that make sense? And so we might have a thought, but then the thought isn't totally worked out, or that we don't know how to communicate it and all of that. And instead of putting in the time and effort to work out that thought and figure out how to communicate it well, we just allow ourselves to kind of get sidetracked or even push it away because we don't want to go through that process. And so RambleFix is a really cool app because you can just talk to it about whatever, like brainstorming ideas, and it'll take everything you're saying and it'll organize it and it'll put it and it'll rewrite it in a way where someone else can read it in an intelligible way. And so that barrier that we used to have of like putting in the time and effort to work through our thoughts and then put it in a way that would make sense to another person. Now we could just ramble and it will do a lot of the work and get us to out of our heads into taking action and to be more productive. So that's like another tool that I really recommend to people that I really like.
I just ran across one called Gamma, which helps you if you're putting together a PowerPoint presentation to you just put in your idea for it. And I did it kind of just playing around with it.
Yeah.
And it generated a really well done PowerPoint
Presentation.
with charts and well organized thoughts that everything I was thinking about was really well done. I was telling people, it's like you almost kind of feel like, how is AI, and this is a good question, maybe you know this question, I haven't really thought about it too deeply.
Yeah.
How is AI free when it offers all these resources? How are you making money if you're designing like a chat GPT if you're not charging people for the service?
Yeah, so this is very fascinating, and I love that you brought that up because there are AI presentation tools where not only do you not have to even give it content, like you could just give it an idea and it'll create the content and it'll produce an entire PowerPoint slide and that you can save and use to present. And if there's things that are off or there's things that you don't like, all you have to do is go in and tweak those things. But like literally in seconds to minutes, you can have an entire PowerPoint. And the question that you asked is very interesting because a lot of people aren't asking this question, and I did do a social media post about it. But most AI companies are losing money, tons and tons of money. We're talking like billions a year. Like the company behind ChatGPT, OpenAI, they're losing billions of dollars a year. But here's a challenge: is that everyone is racing to build the best, the fastest, and the most useful AI because they don't want to be left behind. And so, just from the sheer competition that we have from companies like Google and Facebook, even Amazon's entered it, NVIDIA's entering the AI race, and then you have ChatGPT, and then Elon Musk has the Grok 3 models. There's so many companies that are developing these models, and in an effort to stay relevant, they're putting in a lot of effort to, like I said, make it better and faster and easier to use. But as of right now, like none of these models are really making money. And so it's interesting to see where it's going to go.
So we're basically, AI is a new .com bubble. It's like at some point the bubble's going to burst and there'll be one or two AI programs out there that kind of runs the market.
I think that's where it's looking like it's headed. It's hard to tell where the future is going to be. We can use the past to predict it, but there's kind of certain elements to AI that's different from prior, I guess, industries and innovations coming. But yeah, right now there's just a ton of companies who are jumping into the AI bandwagon, and not because they even have to. Like if they don't jump in, then people are going to use the services that have AI in it, and not the services that don't. And so we're seeing just so many companies. I'm sure you've heard of the company Alibaba.
Yep,
Yeah,
I have.
yeah. So they have their own AI models. Like I said, Amazon is coming out with their AI models. Facebook has Llama. Google has Gemini. There's Anthropic. There's ChatGPT, and there's other companies that just feel like they have to create their own AI, and they're pumping in so much money. But right now, there isn't really any return, and it's hard to say how it's going to happen unless, like you said, a lot of the companies just end up folding, and then there's just going to be a few of them that are going to be the clear winners. And I think the clear winners are going to be companies that have some other foundation, not just AI. Like when you look at Amazon, Amazon runs all these products, they sell all these services and all of that. And so when they add AI to it, they can make a profit because a lot of the recommendations that the AI gives can be to their products and services and stuff like that. OpenAI doesn't really have that. They have to charge a subscription. And if Amazon can offer the same thing as OpenAI, then for free, people are going to use Amazon stuff versus OpenAI. And OpenAI, unless they change their model, they're going to be forced to, either go out of business or do something else. Though the CEO is very smart. I listened to him talk, and I'm sure he'll figure out something. The same thing with Google. I think Google has a lot of foundational stuff as well, and their AI is already Google's already using their AI to integrate with their Google searches to create better searches. So they're gonna have some moat to be able to move forward. But if a company just has a language model or whatever, it's gonna be hard for them to stay relevant, in my opinion.
I like that.
Yeah.
So everybody who's watched iRobot is thinking about this question. What's the ethical challenges you see with AI, especially when you're integrating that with human interactions, whether
Yeah.
that's, you talked about like, psychology or, mental health, or in the health field, people are worried about, I heard they were talking about integrating AI into medicine and developing new vaccines, new medicines. What do you see as the ethical cautions we got to be looking for with AI?
Yeah, and before I answer that, I do want to say you're right. AI is making a big imprint on healthcare and medicine. In fact, just recently, AI came to a similar research conclusion in 2 days that took a team of scientists 10 years. Yeah. And I think it was last week or maybe the week before, but the first AI written research paper passed peer review. So a research paper written by AI without human intervention actually passed peer review. And it wasn't uh, the higher standard, but still like it's showing where we're going. And in terms of ethics, there's two main challenges that I think we are facing. One is that interestingly enough, AI hallucinates, it lies, it cheats,
That's not good.
and I just posted a podcast today about how Claude, they found out that the Claude AI knows when it's being tested. So there's a concept called the Hawthorne effect, where when we humans know we're being observed, our behavior changes, whether positive or negative, right? It's the same thing. Claude knows when it's being tested, so the behavior changes. And so now we have an AI, like the hallucination is a common thing, like a lot of people know about it. Like AI will just make up stuff and it'll sound and it'll make it sound convincing, like, oh yeah, it's this fact. And but the lying and cheating is kind of crazy because I think it was last week or the week before, Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI, the company behind ChatGPT, said that a couple of their models they caught it cheating. Like they saw it talking, saying, "Hey, let's hack or let's bypass this." And when they tried to stop it, it it figured out how to not talk through. It still cheated, but without revealing it. And so, right now, we're only like 2.5 years into since ChatGPT was unveiled, and it's already, like I said, hallucinating, lying, cheating, and it knows when it's being tested. So that's one of the challenges. The other challenge has to do with us humans because we humans also hallucinate, lie, cheat, and know where we're tested. And if we humans are the ones creating these AIs, that is also going to get involved. And I'll give a couple examples. Like right now, there's this big debate going on where companies like Google and OpenAI, they want to be able to access material like written artistic works to train their models without having to pay the artist, right? And the reason that they're saying it is because we need to stay on top of AI. The US as a government needs to be ahead of AI, otherwise it'd be a threat. Now, that sounds like a very reasonable, logic, but you and I both know OpenAI and Google just don't want to pay the artists for the
Right.
work. Yeah.
Exactly.
And so they're using this reasoning. And then now you have artists who are saying, well, every other industry licenses artistic content. Why aren't you guys doing it? So these are the two ethical challenges. Like human nature's need and drive to have more and be competitive and outdo the rest, it's going to force us to create better and faster AI systems. And that's what we're seeing right now. All these different companies I've named, literally like new advancements and new features are coming out like within a week. Like if you're not following AI for 2 weeks, like you could literally fall behind because that's how fast it is. And it's because of our innate human nature to be competitive and outdo the others and stay on top. And so that's one area where we have the challenge is our own um, intrinsic aspects of human self. And then and I think this is why AI is learning to cheat, lie, and whatever, because we're training AI on human data, it's gonna learn what how we are. And just from all the data that it gathers, it sees the lying and the cheating and the need to uh, you know, to cut corners and things like that. So those are I think again, those are the two big challenges.
I think I did see where someone on social media used AI and it gave them the wrong information and they posted on X or something and got caught
Yeah.
by the truth checkers going, this isn't true. It's like, well, no, it's true because OpenAI told me.
Yeah, yeah. So there is a lot of that. I mean, just recently, I think the EU government had put certain it's challenging OpenAI because when they asked ChatGPT about someone and they said that this person, although it got it right that this person lived in a certain town and had 3 kids, it also said that he murdered two children. And so, like, it's hallucinating and making up stuff, so it's interesting.
Yeah, that's the problem when you do academic papers and you trust only OpenAI or
Yeah.
ChatGPT for your research
Yes.
and you don't do it. Because it's harder because then when you actually defend your research,
Yeah.
if you didn't do the research, it's a little hard for you to know, where'd you get this source from? Well, it was, it's up.
Exactly. Well, this
Right.
is an interesting story. So I was at a networking event earlier in the week, and this woman was telling me how she did this research that would have taken her like, I think she said maybe like a week, and AI did it very quickly. And I'm like, be very careful because AI is known, like, even if you ask it to provide sources, AI is known to make up sources. So it's crazy because the solution to some of the hallucination was, hey, just ask the AI for the source. So then the AI would be forced to give you a response based on actual whatever. But now it's making up the sources. So you have to make sure.
I think that happened on the thing I was telling you about earlier too, because I think the politician or whatever it was, I think it was a news reporter,
Yeah.
said I got the source from OpenAI, and it's like that's not a real source, and
Yeah.
so they got called on the carpet for making up stuff.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
exactly. So I run a fully scripted and narrated podcast. So it's a podcast generated by AI and is narrated by AI and stuff. But I always include in the show notes like links to actual articles and stuff just to make sure that there isn't any discrepancy between what the script that the AI wrote versus what is actually happening in the real world.
that's good. So for someone who's listening to our podcast, going, what are some practical tips if I want to leverage it for my company? Are there some things you would say? Here are some best practices. Here are some things to be able to avoid. We kind of touched on some of those,
A
but
little bit, yeah. I think the biggest thing I would stress, especially to people who are apprehensive, overwhelmed, or think that it's complicated, is to understand that AI is an intelligence. So it's not about like programming and technical skills or trying to build something. It's actually just finding the right tools and tools that are designed, that are built for specific tasks that you're looking for, and then telling the tool what to do. And at the end of the interview, I'll share a link to a free guide that lists over 75 tools that people can use for all areas of the business, whether it's for lead generation, for building websites, presentations, meetings, and all of that. And so tools are really the key when it comes to AI right now. And the reason I say that is because AI is evolving so fast. As long as you keep up with the tools, it'll be a lot easier to evolve with it. But if you get fixed on creating your own system or doing things your own way, as soon as you're done or built something, it's going to become irrelevant. So let other people build it and use it until it becomes relevant and then move on to the next one and the next one and next one. I think that's really the way for people to do it. Though, if people wanted some things really just for like productivity and business, I really like scheduling tools. There's some really good AI scheduling tools like Reclaim.ai. And I think the future is also going to go to AI wearables, meaning right now there's companies that are building like a AI bracelet or an AI necklace that's actually listening to all your conversations. And it'll summarize the things you talked about at work with the different people and stuff like that. So you don't always have to be taking notes and stuff. Ray-Ban and Facebook just partnered, not just, but they came out with the glasses. I think it's called pretty much the Ray-Ban glasses. And not only will it listen, but it also record. So now you can this that essentially is going to record and summarize your day. And based on the conversations you have, the things that you've done and all of that, it will take that information that and you can use it to refer back to, or it can summarize it, be like, oh, you had this conversation, you talked about doing this thing, so create action items and to-dos and all of that. So that can help both professionals as well as the rest of us in terms of improving our memory of the things that we do and the conversations we have, and as well as um, tasks that we can remember that we talked about and to complete and things like that.
I know I've run across some really good writing apps too.
Yeah,
I think there's one I ran across that will do a book, an ebook for you in seconds that you can publish. So
yeah, I know. Yeah,
I
so
haven't looked at it yet, but it's like it looked really interesting to be like, oh, you could like publish a book a week.
you can, and that brings up another. I don't know if it's a challenge or a consideration that people should think about. Now, content creation has become easier than ever. What took me 15 years to write 12 books, a person can do in less than a year and even in less time. And there's people who are even more accomplished as authors. They've probably written like 70, 80 books in a lifetime. And now that is just a drop in the bucket with what people can do with AI. And so we're in a time where what I tell people is that AI is a great equalizer. So all these people in the past who had these advantages or who started before you and kind of have a leg up, we're at a point where we're at an equal footing. And so even if they created 80 books in their lifetime, a person could do that in a few years, and it can get shorter as AI is developing. But the challenge is there's more and more content being created, and there's not enough people to read everything that's been created. And so content creation isn't the issue anymore, it's exposure, meaning getting people to see that content. And content can mean a wide variety of things. It can mean emails, it can mean articles, it can mean blog posts, it can mean a website, it can mean a business card, it can mean um, just about any, it can mean an image, a social media post, it could mean a video. That's all content. And now with AI, with content becoming easier and easier to create and so many more people doing it, that's no longer the challenge that businesses are going to have. It's going to be exposure, getting people to see that content, getting people to visit the website, see your business card, watch your videos, and know about you. So I think what's going to be really important to stay ahead is developing your exposure outlets, like developing your social media channels. So you have a following, developing your newsletter list. So you have a bunch of subscribers already, developing other areas where the content you do create, you can get easier exposure because you have built that community, that following, and all of that. But if you don't have that, you can create all the content in the world now, and it won't really mean anything. You can write a book a week, but if no one's buying it, does it really do anybody any good?
Exactly. I love that. So this is my favorite question. I've asked you this question before, but this has been a fun conversation. I'm curious now that you're into something new. Has your idea of what you want your legacy to be also evolved or been AI'd? Or is it
Yeah, I've had so when I started this podcast and I said when ChatGPT came out, I had an existential crisis. That wasn't a fabrication. Like that, I was being very literal. Like I had an existential crisis because what I put in effort into in terms of creating my books, in terms of developing my skill, and the legacy that I was kind of thinking about and moving towards, I started to see a lot of it becoming very irrelevant. Like even though I spent nearly 15 years writing 12 books, 2 years ago that would have been like people would have looked at me and been like, "Wow, that's a huge accomplishment. That's pretty cool stuff." In a year or two, people are gonna think, "Well, yeah, I could do that in 6 months. So what's the big deal?" And when I think about the future of in terms of leaving a legacy, I think when people think of legacy, they're all wanting to put their stamp in life as they've done something greater, as a greater good. But if AI is evolving as fast as it is, and it's becoming smarter and able to do more things, like how do we even compete? Does that make sense? How can we even compete?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. And so it's raised a lot of questions. In many ways, I guess to answer your question, I feel like I've even let go of chasing a legacy. It's like I'm just trying to stay relevant right now.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
So now that AI has evolved, so have you thought about like taking some of your previous books and AI them and see if the concepts are newer or fresher or different ideas? I'm just kind of curious because you have a lot of books. So you go back and go, what if I took the AI tools now and put that same idea forward? What new things would this develop in something I'd done research on before?
Yeah. I could do that, but it comes back to the idea of now I'm just creating another content, you know? And do I really want to put in the effort to get that content exposure? And if I do, what is that? How much effort can I put in the AI thing? And because AI is evolving fast and I'm kind of new to it, and there's been a learning curve for myself, I kind of put a lot of what I had done in the past really on hold. Will I get back to it? Who knows? But right now, I'm just trying to stay up to date with what's happening with AI and stay relevant and try to build something with it where maybe I can have following, where it doesn't matter the direction technology goes, the future goes, I'll have enough following for to expose my content and have enough people that would be interested in my content and services.
So speaking of your content and service, where can people find you on social media, connect with you, learn what you're doing?
Yeah. So as I said, I am the AIpreneur. My website is theaipreneur.pro. I had mentioned that I have a free guide with over 70 AI tools that literally they can essentially start running market a business with these tools and nothing else. And they can get that at theaipreneur.pro/AI tools. And on my social media, I'm more or less the AIpreneur handle on most of my social media accounts, or they might have to do the.ai.preneur on some of them because somebody took the AIpreneur.
Always, of course.
Yeah.
So this has been great. Any closing thoughts as you wrap up this conversation you want to share with the audience?
Well, I do want people to know that AI is not going away. In fact, the very basic fundamental nature of us humans, it's gonna cause it to accelerate it and make it better and faster. And whether or not you're using AI right now or think you'll use it or whatever, it's like the computer. It's important to start learning about it. because once everyone started using the computers, the ones that didn't know how to use it, they were so far behind that it was very difficult and challenging. And that's not what you want to do. You want to, even if you're not using it, just learning about it and keeping up to it will be enough for when it does kind of like become at the forefront of what you're doing. It won't be such a huge learning curve. In fact, I'll do a plugin for my podcast, the AIpreneur.pro/podcast. It's just a 5-minute podcast that helps people understand what's happening in the industry with AI. And although that information may not be useful for you day to day, it lists a cool tool to try as well as a prompt tip. And it's a 5-minute daily podcast. If you listen to it just once a day for 5 minutes, that'll be enough for you to stay on top of AI and know what's going on, know the tools that are out there, know how to prompt these different AI models and stuff like that.
Well, thanks so much for coming on and taking the time and kind of educating us about what's going
Yeah.
on in the AI world. I really appreciate this conversation, and have a great day. Thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you very much, Keith, for having me on. This was fantastic. I loved your questions.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Trailblazers and Titans. If you enjoyed our conversation and found value in the insights shared, please subscribe to our podcast and leave us a review. Your feedback helps us reach more listeners and continue bringing you the stories of the world's most inspiring leaders. Don't forget to follow us on social media for updates and exclusive content. Join our community of Trailblazers and Titans, and let's continue to learn, grow, and transform our visions into reality together. Until next time, keep blazing your trail and striving for greatness.